The video game industry has seen its fair share of studio closures and canceled projects over the years, but a new report suggests that a studio founded by one of the most influential developers in modern gaming could already be in serious trouble. According to a report from Bloomberg, the studio founded by longtime Yakuza creator Toshihiro Nagoshi may be facing closure after publisher NetEase reportedly decided to pull funding for its debut game, Gang of Dragon. The situation is particularly shocking because the game was only revealed a few months ago and was described as already being well into development. If the report is accurate, it would mean that a studio created by one of the industry's most respected developers could be at risk of shutting down before it even releases its first title. The report claims that employees at Nagoshi Studio were informed that NetEase intends to cut off funding for Gang of Dragons starting in May. The decision reportedly came after NetEase discovered that the project would require an additional 7 billion yen to reach completion, which is roughly $44.4 million. That is a significant increase in funding for a project that was already underway, and according to the report, that discovery was enough for NetEase to decide that continuing to finance the game was no longer viable. As a result, the company allegedly informed staff that the funding for the project would be pulled within a matter of months. At this point, neither NetEase nor Nagoshi Studio has publicly confirmed or denied the report, but if the information is accurate, it puts the entire future of the studio into serious doubt. One of the reasons this story has drawn so much attention is because of the reputation of Toshihiro Nagoshi himself. Nagoshi spent decades at Sega and became widely known as the creator of the Yakuza series, which later evolved into the Like a Dragon franchise. The series built a passionate fan base thanks to its unique blend of dramatic crime storytelling, quirky side content, memorable characters, and immersive recreations of Japanese city life. Under Nagoshi's leadership, the series grew from a niche title into one of Sega's most recognizable franchises. Because of that legacy, when Nagoshi left Sega in 2021 and joined NetEase to form a brand new studio, there was a lot of curiosity about what he would create next. Many fans were eager to see what Nagoshi could accomplish with a fresh start, a new team, and the backing of a major publisher. That next project was eventually revealed at the Game Awards in December when Gang of Dragon was officially announced. The game was presented as an action title starring well-known South Korean American actor Ma Dong-seok, who has become internationally recognized for his performances in films like Train to Busan, The Outlaws, and the Marvel film Eternals. His involvement was one of the headline features of the announcement and suggested that the project would blend cinematic storytelling with intense action gameplay. The reveal also carried extra weight because it represented the very first game from Nagoshi Studio. For many players, this was the moment when they finally got a glimpse of what Nagoshi had been working on since leaving Sega. The expectation was that the project would combine his signature style of storytelling with a new setting and new characters. Back in 2023, during one of the studio's first major Western interviews, Nagoshi expressed confidence that fans of his previous work would not be disappointed by what his new studio was building. He emphasized that he understood the expectations placed on him after the success of the Yakuza series, and that he was committed to creating something that players would truly enjoy. Those comments made it clear that he viewed the studio's first project as an opportunity to prove that his creative vision could continue to thrive outside the company where he had built his reputation. Unfortunately, if the latest report is accurate, that vision may now be at risk before players ever got the chance to experience it. Another major factor behind this situation appears to be a broader shift in strategy from NetEase. Over the past several years, the company had been aggressively investing in game development studios around the world. NetEase funded or partnered with teams across North America, Europe, and Japan as part of a strategy to expand its presence in the global gaming market. For a while, it seemed like the company was building an extensive network of studios led by experienced developers from major franchises. However, more recently, NetEase has reportedly begun scaling back those international operations after years of spending heavily on new teams and projects. That shift has led to a series of closures and separations affecting multiple studios. Several teams backed by NetEase have already been impacted by these changes. Studios such as T-, FPC, and Bad Brain were previously closed as part of the company's restructuring. In addition to those closures, NetEase also split from Worlds Untold, a studio founded by veteran writer Mac Walters, who is best known for his work on the Mass Effect series. The company also parted ways with Jar of Sparks, a Seattle-based studio created by former Xbox developer Jerry Hook. These moves suggest that NetEase has been reevaluating its global development strategy and pulling back from projects that require significant long-term investment. The impact of this shift has also been felt in Japan. In 2024, the Tokyo-based developer Uka Studio was closed after working on Visions of Mana for Square Enix. That closure raised concerns about how many other teams might be affected by NetEase's new approach to international development. At the same time, some studios connected to NetEase have managed to continue their work independently. For example, developer Goichi Suda and his studio Grasshopper Manufacture have continued pushing forward with their own projects, and longtime Resident Evil producer Hiroyuki Kobayashi has continued developing games through his studio GP Track 50 even without ongoing NetEase backing. Those cases show that some teams have been able to adapt and keep moving forward despite the changes. The question now is whether Nagoshi Studio can do the same. According to the report, Nagoshi has been searching for new funding sources that could allow development on Gang of Dragon to continue. Securing that funding would potentially give the project a second chance and allow the studio to survive beyond its first game. However, finding new investors for a project that suddenly requires tens of millions of additional dollars is no easy task. Publishers and investors often become cautious when a project's budget increases dramatically, especially if the game is still years away from release. Without a financial partner willing to step in quickly, the studio could find itself in a very difficult position. What makes this situation especially frustrating for fans is how early it seems to be happening in the life of Nagoshi Studio. When a veteran developer leaves a major company to form a new studio, there's usually a sense of excitement about the creative freedom that comes with that move. Players look forward to seeing new ideas, new worlds, and new characters from someone who has already proven their talent in the industry. In this case, many fans were eager to see what Nagoshi would create now that he was working outside of Sega and building a completely original project from the ground up. The possibility that the studio could close before that vision is realized is understandably disappointing. For now, it is important to remember that this situation is based on reports rather than official confirmation from the companies involved. NetEase and Nagoshi Studio have not yet responded publicly to the claims. Until they do, there's still some uncertainty about exactly what will happen next. It is possible that new funding could be secured, or that development plans could be adjusted in a way that keeps the project alive. The video game industry has seen projects rescued at the last minute before, so there is still a chance that Gang of Dragon could eventually find a path forward. At the same time, the report highlights how volatile the modern game development landscape can be. Even studios led by highly respected creators can find themselves vulnerable when funding decisions change. Game development budgets have grown dramatically over the past decade, and the financial risk involved in producing large-scale titles are higher than ever. When publishers reassess their strategies or cut back on spending, entire studios and projects can suddenly find themselves in jeopardy. That reality has become increasingly common across the industry, and this latest situation may be another example of how quickly things can change behind the scenes. For fans of Toshihiro Nagoshi and the legacy he built with the Yakuza series, the hope is that this isn't the end of Nagoshi Studio's story. Whether Gang of Dragon ultimately survives or not, there is no doubt that Nagoshi's influence on the gaming industry is significant. His work helped shape one of the most distinctive and beloved franchises in modern gaming, and many players would still like to see what he and his team are capable of creating in a brand new universe. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any future uploads. And if you want to support the channel, consider checking out my Patreon, where the latest exclusive is a look at every video game featuring Wolverine. Until next time,